Good evening, this is the Oscar expert here with Brother Bro. It's time to discuss the Dune trailer. Obviously one of the most anticipated films for just about anybody who's really looking out for 2020 movies. Denis Villeneuve is one of the most exciting and consistent filmmakers we have, and Dune, a novel I'm not very familiar with, is a legendary book that they say cannot be adapted, but of course Denis Villeneuve is so ambitious and he's taking it on. We all feel like it really has potential to live up and be something grand and great. Villeneuve said he would not make the film unless they were going to intend for it to be 2 films in total, because trying to pack in that book into 1 film, he felt that would be a disservice to the movie that he wanted to make, that he saw in his head. He has a personal connection with the book. I think he read it as a teenager and he sort of fell in love with it, like it was his favorite book or something, and it's been a long time dream of his to adapt into a movie. So they pretty much have the most reliable director you could possibly have on this project. So we should trust him to do a very good job with this. It looks very character driven. You know, you're going to have lots of scenes that are just like in it with the characters. You're going to have other scenes that are grand, massive. The sound is going to rumble beneath your feet. The visual effects are going to win Oscars. The reason that this movie is even in talks for Oscar consideration as an action adventure fantasy film is because we hope that it can deliver on action, characters, scope, maybe even like a deeper philosophical level. And I think this trailer meets those high expectations. The book is supposed to be very dense in like the themes and in the world building. It's very like political, it's philosophical, and one wonders what you can take from the book and distill into, well, I guess in this case, 2 movies. From the trailer, I wouldn't say my expectations were exceeded. Greg Fraser is doing the cinematography here. Greg Fraser's style usually is like very naturalistic. He did Lion, he did Zero Dark 30, and those are like beautifully shot movies. But it's interesting in a mega tentpole blockbuster film to have that sort of muted color palette. I'm not completely sold on like that muted color palette and the sort of like bland minimalism of the art direction. I feel like it could have been more alive visually, but again, this might really suit the story and I just don't know. This is my impression from a trailer. I feel like looking at some of the fan art for Dune and then watching the trailer kind of leaves you wanting a little more, but it's just a trailer and I might feel differently later. And the film will probably be in the conversation to get nominated for cinematography anyway. I get that, but the cinematography is still fucking good. And it also seems like it could be a lot of people like talking in chambers, like chamber rooms, which don't have a lot in them. It's a choice, but it's sort of a bland one. You can watch plenty of videos that are gonna like fan out over it, but I'm more like speculating. Could this film be this way or this way? Like, I don't really know. I just have a hard time imagining that it doesn't live up. Villeneuve being such a diehard fan of the book, being a consistent director. I mean, I think even Blade Runner 2049 lived up as a sequel to a classic about as well as anything could. His movies have some of the best visuals out there. The cast is great. Timothée Chalamet is very promising in this trailer, I think. His performance looks really good. It's obvious that there's a focus on the characters here. He's also not somebody who's going to neglect the like deeper levels of the book. I think that's why he's here. That's what he's doing it all for. He wants to explore deeper themes. That's what he's been doing with all his films. So it wouldn't make sense if this was just a movie where it is just a surface level story. Like that just doesn't make sense to me. So I have high hopes for it. At the same time, like Tenet was a major blockbuster that we had very high hopes for, had high on our Oscar list. And of course, that's not on our Oscar list anymore, even though that had massive expectations. Are we too convinced that this movie's too big to fail? I'm not that convinced. I definitely get the sense that we're getting a heady, possibly even like a talky film. It could disappoint some people who are like looking to see Star Wars, I think. And then they're going to get something that's a little slower, maybe more like deliberate, methodical. We'll be interested to see how that plays out, if audiences are going to be just as on board, maybe with like the critics or the fans. As far as it being a Best Picture movie, I mean, that's also a tricky line that it's tethering. I mean, it's so big that I feel like if it doesn't live up like a lot, then people will be kind of disappointed. Like, I think for some people it's gonna live up no matter what, but I wonder how like across the map those reviews will be. And does that get into the Oscars? I don't know. I do not know. Regardless of that, though, visual effects, it's winning.
Yeah, I think
it's
it will win
over.
that.
There's nothing else. Tenet
else
doesn't
is
have
coming
many. It's definitely winning visual effects. I mean, the sandworm will make audiences all across the globe jizz their pants. It's going to be great for everybody. We're all going to enjoy that experience in the theater. Probably going to win sound. You know, I thought my last predictions, Tenet was number one. That's not number one anymore. Dune's number one now. It looks like a couple of the villains have some makeup. That's enough. We've got costumes, production design for sure. Cinematography could be in the conversation, even if it's not in picture. Editing will have to coincide with picture, just like Blade Runner 2049. It's not getting editing unless it gets picture. And if it gets picture, it will probably get director. I don't see how that wouldn't go together.
Yeah, I wouldn't necessarily bank on like above the line categories, but I would definitely predict below the line categories.
And acting categories, of course, there's a crowd who wants to see Timothée Chalamet get nominated and win his Oscar, but I don't think these kind of adventure roles get nominated. It just doesn't really happen.
I don't think it'll be nominated for any acting awards, and it won't even be like close.
I hope that watching the film is a majestic experience. And we all look forward to that because Arrival was one of the most majestic experiences I've had watching a movie. So it just has so much to live up to, you know? That's the whole thing.
At this point, I probably would have it on my top 10, but yeah, I'm not sold on that getting nominated just because the nature of
the
genre.
film.
It's an adventure movie. It's based on half of a book. Usually, I hate that shit, but I also do like trust Denis Villeneuve a little more here. This is an enormous gamble for the studio to take.
So we're pumped. We want the risk to pay off. We want to see those Oscars. Leave your excitement in the comments. Make sure to turn the caps lock key on. I know that you really would like to scream about it. Thank you for watching. Thank you for subscribing.
Do you think Timothy gets eaten by the worm?